So my question is mostly on the learning and curriculum side and that and their assessment. So I would like to hear more on that stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pallavi Pallavi Savala.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hi. Hi, my name is Pallavi Savla, and I have so like two of my kids are going to kindergarten. One of them is going to Parkmont, and another one is going to Gomes Elementary. So I think I agree the social aspect, but I feel like teachers are really doing an amazing job, and both of my kids are really like learning a lot. And I agree, we have to go back to the school, that is the best experience. But in my mind, we also have to think about teachers and overall all of the staff members. So I'm fine with, whatever, uh, if we have to like wait till like next year to, like go back to school. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Marinelle.
Hello, my name is Marinelle Lum. I have two children in the school district, a sixth grader at Chadbourne and a second grader at Gomes. So my question is, well, first I'd like to say first that our teachers, so my children have been incredibly blessed with incredible teachers. So a learning loss is not an issue or a concern of ours. My concern is transitioning back, especially for my inclusion student. I know we're all talking about safety plans and all these other things, but I'd like to have the conversation broadened into the inclusion kids. My son is in an inclusion class specifically for autism. So I would really like the conversation to include that, like his teacher supports multiple classrooms and how, the inclusion kids really depend on consistency and how our familiarity with the teachers that they've sometimes have come to know for multiple years now. So I'd like us to discuss that a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kimaya.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Kimaya Ravel, and today I think school should reopen because it might be more beneficial for kids, and also future generations will improve.
Thank you, Kimaya. Thank you for your comment. Do you want to speak more?
Yeah, a little bit more. We should also be cautious, and by cautious I mean we should wear like masks and maybe multiple layers. Yeah, we should also socially distance, and maybe everyone should be vaccinated.
Thank you for all your suggestions. Those are really good suggestions. Thank you. Deepak.
Yeah, hi, this is Deepak. Basically, I like to suggest that we have to consider opening and reopening schools for. There is a minority of folks who have indicated they like to return to school. There is there are many. The folks I am assuming or guessing there's multiple reasons. There's concerns about learning loss. There's concerns about mental health, and for equitable learning opportunity for everybody, it's very important to consider opening. This is not about my personal preference. My personal preference, in fact, I have two kids and I have different personal preference for both of them for different reasons. But the point is, this isn't about personal preferences, but about enabling parents, guardians, and children. And also, the other thing is there are many essential workers in our community who are having to go to work, and it's very challenging for them to put kids in at home behind a Zoom session, and if suddenly the internet goes down, there are a lot of challenges. And also, I would say we need to follow the medical advice and guidelines that are being there rather than us trying to override that. and follow the guidelines, follow the science, follow what we are hearing from Fossey, Dr. Fossey and everybody is that it's safe to open schools. And yet we have this fear, and there was always fear. Pneumonia used to kill many people in United States every season. So
Deepak, can you please end it in a couple of sentences?
Yeah. So my point is, I'm trying to impress upon it's very important to consider opening the schools right away and not try to drag our feet and follow example of other communities here in California and in all over in the US. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sapna?
Yeah, so my question is like, if we will open the school and some of kids will not go and they will take long distance, I mean, to the online. So how teacher will spend the time with the kids? Do we have any plan? I mean, to say, if teacher will take in person and then kids will wants to go to school for COVID purpose. So what we have planned to give that education online as well as in person?
Thank you, Sapna. Do you want to say more or you done?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Yashi?
Oh, hi. Well, thank you, Vanita, for sponsoring such an important event. And I am just so happy to see those little kids express their opinions and very articulate. And I want to ask them. So if they do go back, are they be able to? Oh, sorry, my son are playing piano, so I hope
That's
you don't hear the noise.
No, we don't.
Anyway, yes, this is a piano class. Will those little kids be listen and follow the procedure, wash their hands? They have to keep their promise. And I do listen to the parents, and we do have plans. We're in negotiation with the teachers, and we work hard to reach agreement. And we all have to be on the same platform, a bandwidth to open school. But I see that we actually would offer. Yes.
Okay. Yashing, I don't know whether it is. I will put your question up for the students to reply. Maybe you want to use chat for this reason, because I just don't want us to be in trouble because of breaking off any laws.
Oh, okay. So we can only be listening in.
I mean, it's not me. It's a Brown Act that bars you from speaking.
No,
not me.
Okay, that's fine. It's just to try to clarify.
Yeah,
with you,
absolutely.
Because otherwise we'll be just talking and talking and talking. I do want to tell people, because they ask whether we have plans. We do have plans. We are working in progress.
Yeah,
and
so, I would love
to
hear from you. I'm sorry, I would love to hear from you as a parent. But when you speak as trustee, I don't want anybody to get into trouble because of that reason. Just of course, there is chat. You can use chat. You can ask people to share more.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Yajing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, I know you have already spoken. And actually, all three of you have spoken. So I don't see any other raised hands. I can give you another chance, Kathy. Go ahead. Oops. Go ahead.
One more thing I have noticed is, like, from the second and I'm sure it's going to be for the third trimester as well, that there's a increase in homework, but then there is no increase in the teaching time. So, like, ultimately the kid is just struggling more offline. So again, I am fine if it wants to be offline, but I would want the teachers to spend more time with the kid, because at least for Parkmont kindergarten, her batch, the online time in the school is only 1 hour 10 minutes. And the second thing is that I would want to vote for any kind of offline social interaction amongst the kids, if like that can be implemented in some way. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackson. Please go ahead.
I'm a student at Olivera. My name is Jackson, and I want to go back to school in person.
You're so sweet, Jackson. Thank you so much. Sai.
I am so incredibly thrilled to hear the children come out today and speak. It's a refreshing reminder that everything that we all do is for the love of these children and to make sure that they have a better future. So Vinita, so my personal thanks and gratitude to you for setting up this forum, and particularly to the parents of the children and the children coming out here today. I can't tell you how incredibly proud and inspired I am. I hope on that note of positivity that we as a community can lead by example, building trust, building excellence. And my request to the superintendent is to take leadership measures to foster transparency, because transparency builds trust. And there are only 2 points that I would like to request. One, if you can please publish conditions for opening that you're hearing from across the stakeholders. That does not include, right, PII type information. Please share that with everybody. I think the more information that you can share, the more trust you can create within and amongst the community. And second,
Sai, can you please, sorry, Sai.
Yeah, real quick.
Yes.
Vinita, second, let's have more reporting out there, please, like number of hours students are being taught, etc. Because my children have just received emails saying that teachers are going to start reporting tardies if children log in more than 2 minutes beyond their school class start time. And we know internet access can be spotty at times. So if kids are going to be put under that pressure, let's just make sure that we approach that with some sensitivity, please.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you very much. And you can continue to chat. We will look at it again, and the trustees and everybody is looking at the chat anyways. So thank you so much. Neelam.
Hi, thanks, Vinita.
Thank you.
So like all other parents, so I am PTA president as well at Forest Park, and I'm in favor of opening the schools. But and I will say I'm one of the fortunate ones where I say my kids are doing good in school. In fact, the teachers are doing a great job. So I have no concerns as far as the education online is considered. But while sending to the school as any other parent, I'm a little hesitant because I want to know what the safety measures are out there. And if we are going to the hybrid mode, how would it work if I opt for hybrid mode? So having that information out will really help making a decision. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Neelam. Jyotsna. Oops. Jyotsna.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jyotsna, and I'm a parent from one of the mission schools. One of the takeaways that I think we really have to consider with this pandemic is the fact that a lot of kids would need a lot more enrichment programs, and the district should really look at improving those at the various school sites, because a lot of kids were just left with trying to figure out what to do with their time, and so were the parents. So if the district could include more enrichment programs, which gave kids a more constructive way to spend their time, would be something that will be appreciated by the kids and the parents. The second thing would be, if we all have to learn, so one thing is that education will still go on and the teachers are doing the best they can, but we don't need to be in school every single day for 6.5 hours, and that we can still achieve a lot more by being for a lesser time or fewer days of the week. So that is something that also can be considered and not burden the children with too much of the whole academic aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyotsna. Thank you very much. Those of you who joined us a little later, you can raise your hands as you come, or now will be a good time to raise your hands, so I can call you. Jessie?
Hi, I have a 5th grade daughter who is actually doing really good in at Hirsch Elementary School with remote learning. My concern is transitioning back to school. She hasn't been back since, of course, 4th grade, and I do have her on the 504 plan. I would be more comfortable with them not returning back to school until next year and us figuring out what would be the best way to safely get them back into school for fall. So maybe spending this whole time figuring out the best and proper way to get them back healthy next year. And I think the teachers are doing an absolutely amazing job right now because we know how hard it is lesson planning remote learning. And socially, I am figuring out how to get my kid interacting with her friends in FaceTiming and Google Hangout. And that's what I think. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Jhansi? Jhansi, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Jhansi Kalapala. I have elementary kids, and in that early elementary kid is also there. So I'm not, I'm happy to send the kids to the school. Reopening is fine. But the thing is, like, they are academically doing good, but still we haven't heard anything from the district saying that what is the safety plan and if outbreak happens, and there is nothing we haven't heard from the district FUSD. So until the safety plan is clear, I'm not quite comfortable to send my kid to the school. But right now, academically, they are okay, but definitely they are missing the social part of it. But I'm looking forward that is there any board, the web page, or is there anything which is like posting about the safety guidelines or safety plan about the reopening the school? I want to see for that one. Thank you. Thank you, Vinita, for hosting this.
Thank you, Jhansi. I don't see any more raised hands. I hope everybody is reading the comments. I'm not able to follow. I mean, it's difficult for me to host as well as read the chat, but I hope everybody else is reading the chat. However, I'll go back to my screen sharing, and those of you who have yet to speak, they can raise their hands. And oops, sorry about that. Not the right window, this one. I think we did it till here. FUSD has shared family survey results regarding return to school, preference for continuing distance learning through year end, returning ASAP, etc. I have not seen similar data from the teachers' staff survey. I would like to know what the teachers want. Mental health resources for kids missing friends, how to address kids' questions of when school will open or not. My daughter is withdrawing herself into a lot of screen time and hence not spending time with family members. Autistic son has completely digressed. He has 45 minutes class daily, half spent on YouTube video. Teacher leaves early. He is getting nothing out of distance learning. His mental health has suffered. If in person is not back soon, we will leave to go private, where he actually cared for. He is a joke. This is a joke at this point for all children with disabilities. Considering the social development, I want the school to open in person, but otherwise academically, I have no issue continuing distance learning. My kids' school and teachers are doing very well. Doing their very best to make their distance learning comfortable, enjoyable, and successful on personal and mental level. My kid is thriving. I can wait until next session for school to reopen, so all the school staff get their vaccine by then. Okay, I will stop sharing the screen, and Erika.
Hello, my name is Bryce Durham. My wife is Elisha. My name is Bryce Durham. I have 4 children in the district from high school down to elementary school. And one of them has autism. And I have great concerns about continuing with distance learning for his development. I also have another child that's had great social and emotional distress from the ongoing situation that it would be great to be able to address some of that by going back to school. Understand that there's a lot of concerns, and there is everybody's doing their best to deal with this situation. I do think that we need to look hard at ways to return back to school. There are a lot of other communities and other states, even within California, that are doing interesting things in order to get people back to school. And it would be great to see similar measures taken here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Those of you who have joined us later, you can raise your hands. We have plenty of time. We can actually let you speak twice if you want to, since I don't see any raised hands.
I said states. I was saying communities, and I said the other states.
Sorry, you are unmuted. Okay. You can raise your hands again, and I'll go back to screen sharing till then. Once again, these comments are not our comments. These are the comments that we received from the registration form. Considering the no, we added that one. I'm concerned about opening school. I believe according to first grade kids are overloaded. Would like to see school transition to in-person learning only after 50% of students and parents vote for it. Please do not open school unless everyone is vaccinated. Just want to listen. This is somebody who just wants to listen in. No safe school reopening plan from FUSD. We are, when are we going to stop with all the excuses and finally open the schools? We encourage FUSD to start school in person as soon as possible. Get the teachers vaccinated ASAP. We find this format of distance learning not good for mental health, physical fitness, and also learning and sharing thoughts, and have an all-round development. Loss of learning, not learning to his full capacity. I believe that person is talking about their child. And distance learning is not good for elementary aged kids. These kids need to have social interaction. Keeping these kids in front of computer for 6 hours is not working. Ventilation. How can we, as a parent, prepare our kids going back to normal school where they will not be, where they will need to follow strict COVID-19 guidelines? Once again, I'm just reinstating it so everybody knows what we are doing right now. We are reading the comments that we received from the registration form. It's difficult for smaller kids to keep focus for whole day learning through computer. It's also not promoting their social skills and learning through hands-on practice. It also discourages physical exercise. Lower grade students should be prioritized for going back to school to start in-person study. How can we as parents prepare our kids going back to normal school where they will need to follow strict COVID-19 guidelines? How well will the schools be prepared for our when schools reopen? I'm sorry, I'm reading very slow. If you don't want me to read, just write it in the text. Then we can just scroll through it. There are, I think, there are not too many comments, but you know what? Let me not read it for you guys. I'll let you guys read it for yourself. And those of you who have joined us later on, if you want to speak, please raise your hands. Rocio?
Just a question. I know about the Brown Act, but it's no way that the superintendent or any of the trustees, they will give an opinion, even for a minute or anything, or you're not recommending not to talk at all tonight. Will be nice to hear a little something from them, but I understand the format of the meeting.
Trustees cannot talk. I don't know about if superintendent can talk or not.
Okay.
I will let him decide if he wants to talk. I'll let him raise his hand. Oh, actually, he has his hand
Okay.
raised, so I'm going to.
Well, thank you,
him
Benita,
unmute.
as well. This is a great idea, and I love you put this together. I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Superintendent Kamak?
Thank you very much, Benita. First, I want to say thank you to the parents and the community members, and especially the students who were on the call for being here. I haven't spoken up because, to be clear, I was invited to just listen, and listening is oftentimes the greatest gift. It's been fantastic to hear the feedback from our community. I can tell you, as a parent of an 8th grader and a 5th grader, I empathize and sympathize with a lot of what you are describing and going through and the challenges that it presents. I can tell you that, as has been noted, under the Brown Act, our trustees aren't able to comment on an item that they may be taking board action on in the future. And though many of you may know that we have a standing agenda item in recent meetings for the return to campus discussion. And that's why our trustees aren't able to engage in discussion in this meeting under the Brown Act. I'm able to speak because I'm not an elected official. I'm the superintendent, and I work for the Board of Education for the community of Fremont Unified, and I don't have the same Brown Act restrictions. But I do also want to say that I think the intention was for this to be a listening session, and I really appreciate that opportunity. I would only say that I hear the concerns that are being raised. I think our staff has done an amazing job in a really difficult situation. And please know that we are working towards a safe return to campus. And I've said publicly before that that return will be too fast for some and too slow for others. And I also just want to clarify that there is, under our current laws for the state, the mandate that if and when we return, students are provided the option to remain in distance learning. So some of you have asked if that's going to be a choice. Additionally, I will continue to put out newsletters that help address some of the questions that I've heard tonight. I don't want to turn this evening into kind of a direct Q&A with me, but I certainly have heard the feedback, and we'll work on getting some communication out to our community as soon as possible. And others have mentioned the safety plan. I do want to share that on the website that was linked in the chat, there is a button to review our COVID-19 safety plan, which has been reviewed all the way through the state level and meets the criteria for a COVID-19 safety plan. That safety plan does not include the details of when we'll return, but it does include the how of what mitigation strategies will be in place to try to protect our staff and our students as best as possible. So I think I've probably spoken enough. I don't want to take over any more than that. I thank you for the opportunity, Benita, and I know that it's very valuable to be hearing from our community, and I'll work on crafting additional communication to support the interests and needs that I'm hearing in terms of questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamak. I will be sharing the comments we have received with you and the trustees so that you are we all are on the same page and we know what the community is saying, because I don't have elementary grade child myself. I am not in a good position to comment for them. So I would like that is the reason why we wanted to have this. And for those of you who have a secondary education child, we will be having another session next week. And I hope we'll have similar interaction or even larger interaction, because secondary parents are even more pressed. So thank you. Ellen?
Oh, I just wanted to add one more thing that I just like for comparison's sake. So both my kids play competitive soccer, and we just got this crazy long email from the California Department of Public Health. And I don't know if anybody else has had a chance, or, you know, you have kids in sports or whatever, but it was fantastic. And this is exactly what I'm looking for schools going back. I mean, it has outlined like all these tiers, the risk factors, like what happens if there's an outbreak, contact tracing, when people need to be tested, like competing in counties. Like, it's so helpful. Like, I literally teared up reading this, but this is exactly what I want from our schools, is just all this data of here's what it looks like, here's what happens if there's an outbreak, here's what we're doing about it. And then just like, so helpful. But this is exactly what I've been asking the board for, is a document like this. So just putting that out there.
Maybe you might want to share it. So share it with us. So maybe I can share it with Mr. Kamek, or just so we know what you're talking about. I don't have a child who plays soccer. Thank you. I can go back to screen sharing. Oh, Victoria, you have your hand raised. I will unmute you.
Thank you so
Go
much.
ahead.
I really appreciate, oops, hold on just 1 second. I'm sorry, I'm echoing here. I actually just wanted to respond a little bit on the tardy policies and really echo some concerns that parents are having based on the reporting that we're doing, and share, and the superintendent might be able to clarify even more on this. But a reason that we as teachers have been trying to note tardies or absences is absolutely not to be punitive with kids. And so we totally understand and hear parent concerns that there could be even more anxiety about that. But the reason that we have been noting it as teachers is actually so that we really accurately get a count of when technology isn't working and when students are not getting full access to their learning for that day. And so I think we really need to work to address, if we hear on site at sites that students are starting to get anything punitive for having been marked tardy or absent because their internet is down, that as far as I understand for district practice is completely not the case. So I just wanted to share that, because it is something that has come up before, and our teachers have absolutely said, I don't ever want to mark a kid late. It's not their fault. And I know it's not their fault. And then we are hearing, though, from a district or administrative side, like, no, we actually really need to mark them tardy because it shows that they weren't able to get on, and we can address it from there. But I really appreciate, I think Sai had noted that in his comments, and I think it came up in the chat as well. And so we as teachers do not want to be adding any additional stress. We just want to be accurately noting and being able to intervene when kids aren't getting their full instruction. So, and thank you, Vanita, for holding this. And we have teacher volunteers really that are lining up to get back in the classroom. And I have a bunch more that have been emailing me this week due to the Coliseum vaccines being open, and the superintendent doing additional work to get a site open at Holler. So even more places and teachers that are knowing they're doing their countdown until they have their second vaccine. But we have a lot of volunteers that are ready to go. And so thank you, Vanita, for holding this, because even once many return in person, it's critical to have this conversation going, because we do expect still that at least 50% of families will continue in distance learning, and having that outlet to continually improve instruction is very important. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Victoria. We actually wanted to do it earlier in the school year, but there has been just so much going on in Fremont. It did not give me a break to do this. So thank you very much. I'll let Sai speak again. I know Sai has already spoken. I'll give him one more chance.
You know, sometimes I feel like I'm here more often than I might be welcome in some regard. But first off, thank you. Appreciate the courtesy of acknowledgement, Victoria. And I'm sure the empathy that you have is duly noted. Let me share 3 quick examples here. Earlier today, I received an email from my first grader's teacher not only saying that tardies will be noted, but listing names of children that have made it to the tardy list. And my child's not on that list, but I was sad. I was sad, right? Because we have no idea what that parent or those parents might have been going through that might have caused a child to have been 2 minutes late to a class, right? So I worry for the mental wellness of that child in first grade that has to live in that fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Second, my own 7th grade daughter, I keep saying 6th, I keep forgetting she's growing older faster than I can deal with. But we lost internet access because I turned on the toaster oven. That was my mistake. And we lost internet access, the power tripped. And by the time she logged back in, the class was over. She let her math teacher know that she was late because of this, but she got a 0 grade on that, whatever activity they were doing, and was called out in the class as, that's a very common excuse. Why don't you come up with something better next time, right? So I'll just stop with 2 examples because the third one is in a similar vein. So please understand, children are being heard.
Yeah, I just want to say just 2, I'll give you 20 more seconds. Sorry, I don't know how you got muted.
No, I just wanted to request everyone to appreciate that our children, elementary school children, are facing undue mental health challenges, right? And if they're going to be on the clock for every minute or every 2 minutes, it's sad. So let's please take care of them.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you, Sai. So I don't see any more raised hands. And I think, and I want to address Sai. Sai, you're always welcome to come and comment. Nobody is not welcome to come and comment. Everybody is welcome to comment. We have this platform just because I want everybody to be able to speak openly without any stress that it is 11 o'clock in the night and I have to stay awake to give comments. So that is the reason why we plan to host this meeting at an early hour where parents of elementary kids can actually speak up and they don't have to worry about putting their kids to sleep or attending a board meeting. Okay, I'll go back to screen sharing, and those of you who joined us later on, please feel free to raise your hands if you would like to speak. And we don't have too many speakers now, so we will be taking speakers for second and third time too, if you have anything to add to your previous comments. I'll gradually scroll it, so to give an opportunity for everybody to read. I know we have one raised hand. I will finish this page and then I'll take the comment. Shreya? Shreya, go ahead. Shreya?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for arranging this. So my kid goes to kindergarten, and one of the major concern we have is social interaction. I think many of the people have already raised this, looks like from the comments, that they have between the kids, and kids feels kind of, when you go out, you can literally feel that kids have this issue, social interaction. Another thing is mainly the homework. I feel homework is too much, and we basically have to do homework with the kids. Kids have very little attention span, right? So we feel that certain homework, if kids do with the teacher, that would be great. Or reduce the homework amount.
Thank you, Shreyas. Do you want to add something to your comment? Okay. I see you are muted already. Thank you very much for your comment. And Chansi, I'll unmute you.
I have one quick question saying that it is like, do we have any dashboard kind of thing or school reopening safety plan on the district website? Do we have already or still not yet there? If anybody knows.
I think Mr. Kamek shared a 32-page plan. And why should I speak? He's there. He has his hand raised. I'll just give him the platform. Mr. Kamek?
Thanks, Vanita. I'll put a little message in the chat. I didn't really want to jump into the chat only because, again, I want to be here to listen, and I don't want to overly engage everybody in the chat section either. But I will put a link in the chat, which takes you to the web page. Our dashboard is new. We just recently got it published. I thank our webmaster for getting that done, and that will have a link to our COVID safety plan. And we did publish that safety plan a while back, and I really want to thank. We got about 300 responses from staff and parent members who reviewed it and gave us feedback. So I'll put a link in the chat with that information so that everybody can find it. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kamek. I'm unmuting somebody named KR.
Hi, thanks for having me on. So first of all, I'd like to thank the teachers in the district for providing this forum and working so hard. Having said that, I think one of the things that I want to make sure the teachers also understand is that not everybody has a 4-bed house or a 3-bed house for that matter. We live in small places. The first thing that everybody in my daughter's class, she goes to Matters. He said they get told by the teachers to not to have any adults in the room. It's extremely difficult. I know there are some privacy reasons and whatnot, but I think we should all understand that not everybody lives in a 4-bed house and not everybody can afford to have a separate room for the kids. I think if there is something that the district can do to educate the teachers on, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, KR. And I would like to just correct you. This is not actually a teacher's platform. This is parents' platform. We do have teachers among us, but this session was created by parents, by PTA. Thank you. If you guys are looking at the chat, we did share the YouTube link is shared with you guys. You can share with your friends that we are live actually. And Mr. Kamek has shared the link. And Mr. Kamek, it is okay for you to jump in. I know we had 180 registrants, so we were thinking we will not have enough time. But now that we don't have as many people who are commenting over here, it's okay to make it interactive. I don't want to be so strict and have only one-way conversation. If you would like to answer or reply, please go ahead and do that. Thank you. Going back to my document, my dear old document. For those who are joining us later, this is the document that I created through the comments that I received from the registration form. So these are basically the comments that the parents had made when they were registering for this event. I would like the district to continue distance learning the rest of the school year to minimize disruption, to establish routines at this time, and instead focus efforts and funding on preparing for a safe planned reopening in fall, including teacher vaccination prior to reopening and robust testing and contact tracing. I'll scroll through this page and I'll go back to the main page. However, if you guys want to speak up, you can speak, or else we can end the session early too if there are no more comments. Okay, I have Arun Ramani. Arun, I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, had a quick question, right? So since we have the superintendent and I think so others, one question we've been asking is we keep hearing about bargaining. Thanks, Mr. Murka, for superintendent for publishing the dashboard. But overall, right, it's very difficult for us parents to know what is the real hang up and why. Correct? For example, like you said, the safety plan has been published and it's been approved by the board. Is that something by the Alameda County? Is that something which you all are still bargaining about? But because if it is approved by the county, is there anything else we have to do? So one of the requests is, again, this is a question we asked in the board meeting also. Why cannot bargaining happen in the open, right? So ultimately, you all are bargaining about the welfare of students, so that way it is completely out on the open, and everyone knows where everyone stands. Correct? Otherwise, we keep hearing different rooms. Some FADA says it's the district says it's FADA. Correct? So why cannot and what do you all have to hide from us so that it cannot be transparent? And I know Victoria is also here. If both of y'all can answer this, correct? So we are the taxpayers. It's our money you all are talking about, correct? We are the ones who are contributing. So I think so we need to have an idea of what you're doing.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Arun. Sai, I'm unmuting you.
Thank you. No, I think I completely echo what the previous speaker said. My understanding, Mr. Superintendent, is that on March 1st, the state funding goes down to 75%, and we're at risk of, even going beyond that threshold. So are you able to share what's your current thinking behind, is there going to be a hybrid model? Are we looking at September 2021? Are we looking at 2022? Like, what's happening? Like, it seems like this is a really authentic conversation. I mean, I feel it's so refreshing because sometimes the board meetings end up, sounding more like a Judge Judy TV session rather than an actual public forum. So, would love to hear your thoughts, Superintendent Kamak.
Thank you, Sai. Mr. Kamak.
Thank you very much. A couple comments here. One, I just want to, also recognize that, sometimes these conversations have a different feel because while the Brown Act requires that our board meetings happen in public, because it is the public's business, as kind of been highlighted earlier, I think it's important to remember that our board can't discuss these things unless they're in the board meeting together in front of the public. And so you can imagine if you were talking about some very complex things, it's hard to not be able to discuss those with people that you're responsible to make a decision with, unless it's outside of the public, unless it's within the meeting that's happening in front of the public. In terms of the questions about funding, the actual funding plan that was proposed by the governor back in December 30th has never launched. It has never gotten off the ground. It actually has completely stalled out. So has Assembly Bill 10, which was the other state assembly bill related to reopening. That in and of itself doesn't preclude us from making progress towards reopening. But at the current moment, the funding incentives that were laid out by the governor in the December 30th plan are no longer in place. There's actually recent news that was just announced in the last 24 hours from the state regarding a potential new deal that the governor has come out and stated he's not in favor of, but the assembly members and Senate have reached some sort of agreement. And that does contain some funding support as well. But again, that's all pending. It hasn't passed anything. It hasn't voted on anything. It's still a proposal. And I think it's important to note that, because you all probably remember when the governor announced the plan on December 30th, that announcement comes out as something that's definitive. But we are in the middle of February, near the end of February, and that plan has not moved at all. In terms of the hybrid model, the reason the hybrid model is there is because the local and state guidance mandate 6 feet of physical distance. And so we can't necessarily bring all students back in the classroom at once. I am hopeful that as we move with greater vaccination rates and things start to improve in terms of numbers going down with community spread, that in the near future, we can look at some of those things being lessened. But right now, that's why the state is saying, and the local health agencies are saying that that's why we have to have 6 feet of distance. And that really is the reason for the hybrid model. In terms of negotiations, I'm not going to get into a conversation in this forum about one party holding up another party. I don't think that that's the benefit of having this conversation in the moment. I appreciate the request for transparency in that regard, and I certainly appreciate the sense that we are negotiating about the wellness of students. But really what we're also negotiating, which certainly impacts students, is the working conditions about the return. So from a very technical stance, the safety plan has been approved by the state, and that is not what we are negotiating. We're negotiating other conditions around the return. And I understand that there can be confusion and frustration about that, but I'm not going to get into a position right now about trying to position one person or the other, trying to hold it up. Our negotiation teams met today for almost the entire day. And I believe that both groups are working towards the same outcome of trying to get students safely back to campus as soon as possible. We are trying to get students back, starting with our primary grade students and our preschool students as soon as we can. And I think that's everybody's interest. But there are some things that we need to work out as we do that.
Thank you, Mr. Kamak. I just want everybody to remember what this forum is for. If you guys remember, I sent out a message last night and asked us that we all focus on distance learning and school reopening, mental health, and the issues around us right now. Let's focus on those and do not bring in it's not only you. I mean, so many of those questions are mine as well. But the thing is that is this the right platform? I don't think this is the right platform. This session is to build the bridge between the community and the decision makers to understand what the community's concerns are about distance learning. And let's just keep it to that. Thank you. Deepak, I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, I actually just had the same point. I just put it in chat. It's just a concern that why is even, and this is again not the topic like you mentioned, but then why is bargaining behind closed doors is a big question mark for me, because as a parent, that's the biggest concern I have, right? I don't know what is going on. we are having to do all these questions and bring up concerns in open meetings, and then behind closed doors, what gets discussed, we have no clue, right? So that's my biggest concern, because there's no transparency as a parent, right? So, and a taxpayer. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Jyoti, I'm unmuting you. Go ahead. Jyoti, I don't know, we are not able to hear you. You are not muted, but we don't hear you. I'll give you. Okay, let's try it again. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. My name's Jyoti. I have 2 kids at Ardenwood Elementary, and I wanted to find out from the district, what is the district's plan in terms of enforcement of teacher and student masks? And I'm only asking because I went to campus today and I saw several teachers and students not wearing masks when I had to go pick up things. I'm also asking because as a parent volunteer, I cleaned the tables every week with Lysol disinfecting wipes, and I know that that's a resource issue for the district. I do know that my 4th grader, who is 10 years old, and we've heard from other students, he really wants to go back to school. My 8-year-old, who's 2nd grader, has no interest in going back to school. He really likes remote learning, and there's a whole nother Zoom meeting for that. But I am concerned as a parent, if the district decides to go back when everyone is not vaccinated, what is the protocol for making sure enforcement of masks, cleanliness at campus, and if there is an outbreak? So those are my 3 questions I'm hoping that the superintendent can address. If not tonight, in another forum, that would be great.
Thank you, Jyoti. Manisha, I'm unmuting you.
Hi, I'm Manish's wife. I'm the parent. My son is in TK inclusion. And yeah, I sit with him during class, and I love his teachers. They are really helpful. But I want to reiterate that I'm not trained to teach a child, and it'll be very helpful if it is prioritized to somehow help special need kids, because it's really, really affecting him, and I cannot have my relationship with him destroyed because of this. I'm sorry for my emotional outburst, but that's how hard it is to do this. So I implore you to please keep this in mind, especially for children who need that extra support. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Arun, I'm unmuting you.
Use your exact project title.
Arun. Oops, sorry. Sorry, Arun, I will have to look. There. Go ahead.
So yeah, so the thing is, I wanted to have a question about mental health, right? I think so. Mental health is definitely a big problem, right? And I think so. Like the previous caller said, I think so. We should see before I go to mental health, we should help special needs kids out. Like she said, I know a lot of families with special needs who are really suffering and need the help. See, first, like my kids, they're middle school and high school. They don't want, they're very happy. So they are not, but at least the kids who are really need the help, we need to address it, because that is a mental health problem right now. The other question I have with respect to mental health is, so there is this thing to get more and more counselors, correct? But has the district done what do we have the data on how many requests have gone to counselors? Whether what is the timeline before when someone needs help? What is the ETA? Correct. So that way we can have this data available before deciding what is the solution. Also, I know surveys have gone out, right, with respect to mental health. But actually, in mental health, there are basically 2 or 3 big issues, right? First and foremost, right, there is this thing with the teachers causing mental health, correct? Because that is one thing which a number of students do talk about, but it doesn't come out in the open because they feel of retribution. That's one. The second one is parents, right? Who are also equal part. And I know, Vinita, you and a bunch of others are trying to educate parents, right? So that is another issue. And the third one is something which is happening within peers, correct? There is definitely bullying, right? If you don't talk about the same issues like certain people, and if you have a different view, those students are ostracized, right? So that is why you see in many board meetings, many people do not come up to talk to, correct? These are the things which are really happening, correct? So how is the board and what is the superintendent and even FADA, everyone trying to, we talk about solutions about counselors, but these are the root issues. If we can identify the root and fix it, it was going to be much easier, right? So I think that
Arun,
is.
Thank you very much for your comment. I think we have last speaker, Sai, and after that, if we don't have any new speakers, we'll just end this session. And we'll come back again for secondary education session tomorrow, next week. Okay. Thank you very much, Arun. Sai, I'm unmuting you. And we have one, after that, we have Shreyas, who would like to speak. And I think that we'll just make that a last speaker. Thank you.
Vinita, thank you. Thank you. I mean, let's take a few moments here, Vinita. I know we are all moving at, at a pace of life where meetings need to end and we all need to do other things. But, when that mother called and shared her story, it reminded me of what happened in my own life with a teacher not too long ago with my daughter, where a male teacher told her during class, quote, in my days, girls would not talk, unquote, right? And in 6th grade, for a pre-teenage girl, a child who's trying to find her identity and find her, place in life, to be told by a male, an older male Caucasian teacher that in my days, girls would not talk. Or girls, right? It's just an incredible example of mental health issues caused by people that we think are going to take care of our children, right? So we trust them. And when that trust is destroyed, really, really bad things happen. And just last 2 quick points, and I want to protect my daughter's, privacy, of course. It was a significant issue, and we're still continuing to deal with that till date. It's been over 1.5 years. And then what I also found is the district's resolution process was pathetic, right? And if I show up at the district meetings, it's only because I don't want anybody to lose a child, because somebody decides to have a power play or to use politics or to use legal mumbo jumbo to shut somebody up. Like, I've been through that. I have a thick skin. I have a backbone, and I'm not afraid. As people know, I go to district meetings and I speak up. I speak up because there's a risk that some parents might lose their children. And for the love of God, that's a price too much to pay, right? I don't care what you bargain, but let's not bargain with kids' lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sai. Shreyas, I'm unmuting you. Oops, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so on this, the last stage of the mental wellness or things, when kids go to school, especially the elementary grades kids, the most they learn is how to deal with the environment, how to deal with the friends and peers. This is what we are missing on online education. Is there a way the school, Fremont Unified District or a school in particular, provide an hour or 2 sessions, maybe an hour session or 30-minute session where the kids can log in and talk whatever they want between each other, maybe 2 or 3 times a week? That would a dedicated time, maybe a school during school time or a school break time or something. That way they can learn the social interaction. This is the most this is the thing which they are not learning right now, and it is impacting. I can feel that a year back she was going to the preschool, and the way she was able to communicate versus now, show her expressions or show her feelings. It's not happening because of this online environment.
Thank you, Shreyas. And I think, I know our elementary education director was supposed to be here. I don't think she's here. I am aware that there are programs going on in elementary schools where the kids are getting free time during lunch break. So maybe you want to reach out to your administrator and see if your school has something similar going on. I know that there is something going on in that. What you're asking for. So thank you. Jyoti, I'm unmuting you. Jyoti, you're unmuted. Jyoti Singh.
Hi again. I'm just curious, like, in terms of the school does reopening, what is the plan? Is it every day? Is it hybrid? I'm only asking because I know there's private schools in Fremont who have been open since last March when the pandemic started, and they have a 3-day in-person, 2-day online. So I'd be curious to know what the purpose of today's meeting is. Is it for all the parents to give their feedback and then you take it back to the district? Or we actually can get some thoughts from the superintendent? I'm not very clear on that, but I'm also trying to figure out, as Ellen had mentioned earlier at the very onset of this meeting, like, what do we tell our kids? I have 2 kids in elementary school. One kid does not want to come back. The other one can come back yesterday. So I've been telling them I have to wait to figure it out, but I'd like to know what the plan is as well. And then I also mentioned the safety concerns regarding cleanliness, and then the mask enforcement if we all go back. So if we could address that, that would be really good. If that's what this meeting is about, or if there's a different intention, that would be great if that could be shared with all of us.
The intention was very simple. Parent community has been coming and reaching out to all the PTA presidents and me, and saying that they are not happy or they have concerns. So we just wanted to give a platform to the parent community of elementary students to speak directly to the trustees and the decision makers. The idea was not for them to interact. However, if school officials would like to interact, they are more than welcome to do that. The idea was definitely was to make sure that we protect the trustees. However, the idea was also that the comments that you guys are sharing in this meeting are taken into account when they are making the decisions or when they are creating any document. We want them to be very much aware of the parent community's concerns. That is what was the expectation out of this meeting. I hope that answers your question, Jyoti.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I have Deepak, and then Soumya.
Yeah, hi. I just want to highlight that I was very touched by so many stories, and we don't get to hear this at our board meetings, and I'm thankful, Vinita, for you for having posted this. And it's really heartbreaking to see so many parents and children going through so much. And I think this was a real eye-opener for me, because when the whole mental health issues started popping up, I was totally befuddled and confused. What is the root cause of it? And now I'm beginning to realize there are so many different dimensions of the problem. And there was an entire political campaign run for several months, very orchestrated political campaign to blame SRO, when really the problems has multiple root causes. And we need to, I won't go into each specific case in the interest of time, but we heard enough examples, and this is really amazing. I mean, like, mind-blowing. And I'm a little shaken up, because I can, I don't have words, I am really stunned actually.
Thank you,
And
Deepak.
yeah, that's it. I just want to share that. So we as a community need to keep in mind that mental health has many dimensions, and we need to introspect and figure out what each of us needs to do to fix the problem instead of just finding a scapegoat. So
Thank you,
thank
Deepak. Thank you, Deepak. Soumya, I'm unmuting you. Go
Hi,
ahead.
thank you so much, Vinita, and thank you for putting this forum together. I see that we have CJ and a lot of other board members on this, as well as the FATA leader here. So I actually have a very fundamental question. So the fundamental question I have is, all our kids, elementary kids included, they're all sitting at home and doing this distance learning. And when they're not really able to talk to their friends and kind of work through some of the emotions that they feel when a teacher grades differently or there is an issue in class, none of these things are happening. So what is, by not having learning pods and other things available, it becomes difficult for children to kind of get through and express their emotion. So I want to know what we are doing for that. And as well as the other thing I really want to know also is, what is the district really doing along with the union and everything to identify what are the causes of mental stress for elementary kids? There's a lot to be said about high schoolers and things. What about elementary kids? What is really the cause? So I'd just like to learn a little bit about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Soumya. CJ, I'm unmuting you. Thank you.
Thanks. I just wanted to provide a response to the earlier question about the masks and the safety measures. And I don't mean to overly go back to the COVID safety plan, but within that plan, it outlines the mask mandates that are provided by the county. And it starts at around page 14, and that will highlight a lot of our health and safety protocols. If there are parents and community members that want to review that information, it's a part of that plan. And to respond to the question about the schedules, would it be every day? Generally, that's part of what we are negotiating right now, and it would most likely not be every day. And that's a kind of a practical reality because of the mandates for physical distancing. And so we would need to have cohorts of students that rotate on and off campus periodically to make sure that we can maintain the physical distancing that's required. As I was saying earlier, I hope that as we get more and more vaccinations through the community and the numbers go down, that some of those physical distancing requirements can be lessened in the future. I don't expect, from what I'm hearing from our county health professionals, that that's going to happen in the immediate future, but we are hopeful that maybe those are lessened for next year. And I just want to share that it's not anybody's position that we're just not going to work to return. We are working to return. We want to do it soon. We want to do it safely. We want our kids back on campus. And I just want to acknowledge the frustration that I am hearing from parents and community members, and know that we are committed to working this out. I understand it's taking longer than some would like, especially for those that have joined us this evening. And just know that we are going to continue to keep working on it, and I will continue to increase the communication for the community as well. And I do appreciate the feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Kam. Mr. Kam, can I ask you a question? Very quick one.
Do you want to address mental health issues? Do you want to, because that has been something that am I speaking too lightly? I was talking about, do we want to address mental health issue? Because, Fremont Council has a serious, we had been advocating for mental health of our students. And
if there is something that can be fixed before and while we are still talking about coming back to school, I think that will be greatly appreciated by everybody, even for the time duration that we are staying online or in distance learning or in hybrid. If we can address that issue, that will be really, really very, very greatly appreciated by the community and me. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I had an echo in what you were saying in the beginning, but I believe what you were referencing was mental health.
I was referencing to mental health. My question was that we know that mental health is a serious issue, and I had been advocating for mental health for a very long time. And even Fremont Council has taken over this issue that we want to focus all our energy into kids' mental health. I was aware, and I am very much aware of mental health issues in elementary and secondary. And so are you, and I'm sure so is everybody else in this room. Do you think that something can be done meanwhile, while we are still getting ready to open or negotiate or whatever level of opening we are in? If we have that, and I've requested it in the board meetings too, that if we can focus on mental health of students, probably it will take away a lot of stress from parents' plates and the students' plates as well. So I don't want to put you on the hot seat, but is there any conversation going on behind the scene about how to address the elephant in the room when it comes to mental health?
Thanks, Vanita. I think that's a great question, and don't worry, the seat's already hot. But I think that's a great question, and I don't want to try and avoid it, but I think it's important to recognize that it's really, really complex. So what are we doing to try and address mental health? I know our counselors have been working to make office hours available. I was part of the Irvington Mental Health Town Hall yesterday, and their counselors and their students talked about the need to connect and debrief. And I think counselors are doing a good job of trying to make themselves accessible. We're also looking at, how can we improve the social and emotional work for our youngest students? What can happen from a curricular standpoint as we return to school next year? I'm not saying that we're going to wait to next year to return, but when we start the school year anew in August, that's normally when we would start implementing new curriculums. What can we do that helps support the social emotional learning for students? Because that's a really critical part of being able to engage them in that discussion. And I think, as we've heard from parents tonight, and from my own experience as a parent, that mental health stress is very different from one child to another. The mental health challenges that my 8th grade son is experiencing right now are very different than those of my 5th grade daughter. They're two very different creatures, and the things that give them that mental health stress are very different. And it can be things that are environmental. It can be things that aren't necessarily environmental. It can just be characteristics of what the pandemic has changed for that child. So it's a really complex issue, and we are continuing to look at mental health. We've continued to try and look at more partnerships. We implemented a program like Care Solace to try and get resources to families. And as we return to campus, hopefully soon, the mental health piece is also going to be critically important, because, as we've heard from parents tonight, that social interaction at school is really important. But when we bring kids back on campus initially, unfortunately, much of what we will be doing is going to be regulating that social interaction. And that's going to be a challenge for students. It's going to be a challenge for our youngest students to see the friends that they want to mingle with and be close with so much, and have to keep some distance from each other. I'm sure they'll rise to the occasion given the proper scaffolding and support, but that is important. And it's going to be harder for some of our secondary students as well, who are really longing for that connection, and who may have a more independent mindset in how they're going to approach their interaction. So it's really complex, but we are working very hard to try and address the mental health and think about what that looks like as students return to campus as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kamek. I'll give the last shout out to anybody who would like to raise their hand and put out a question, or else we can just have closing remarks and end it early, 10 minutes early. We have one more hand by Shreyas.
Yeah, again, on this mental health or social interaction, can district put a guideline for the school, and for this, say, a specific day or specific lunch hour or specific time, they can to the social interaction. It should be, means it should come from top down. It can come from top down and can give a guideline to each and every school within FUSD, and they implement it. Because there are so many different things we are hearing from the different parents, that this school is doing this school is doing this. Even within school, this teacher is doing this, that teacher is doing this. Especially for this distance learning and social interaction, can't there be a top-down guideline from district to each and every school?
Thank you, Shreyas. So I think what I need to do is I will be sharing the secondary education registration page with all of you guys who and I will be sharing it with the PTA presidents. They can share it with everyone outside. Next week we'll be meeting with for the secondary parents to comment and bring in their concerns with the same group of people. And I hope they are up for it for next week too. I hope we did not grill them enough. They are still okay sitting on that hot seat. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Kamak, for answering all those questions. Even though I did not, I was hoping it will be just listening session for you, but thank you so much. I think with that, we will like to end the session. Have a very good night, everybody.